up, y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Homie Trinity podcast. On today's episode, we're going to mix it up a little bit and do a little something different. I'm rolling solo today at the advice of my two homies, Big Ren and Big E. They have advised me to show a little different something on the channel today. If most of y'all don't know, I do have a side hustle, or should I say a whole nother company called Cold Shed Customs. And what we do is we do custom epoxy tumblers. And if you're not sure what that is, please go to my Instagram page at coldshedcustoms.com and check it out. But today what we're going to be doing is got a little collab going on with the Homie Trinity podcast and Cold Shed Customs, where we are going to be doing our custom tumblers for our own show. Cups for us, showing our faces, showing our little logo. So these are things that I've been working on the past couple of weeks, just haven't had time to finish it. So like I said, the homies told me they wanted to see it. So here we go, show you into my little lab, my little mad doctor science experiment where I do all my artistic work, as Ren likes to say. We're artists, we like to get down. But we're going to be showing you how we're going to be making these cups look perfect. Stand by. All right, y'all, so here we are back in the lab, and as you can see on this tumbler I have right here from Arctic, I've already laid down the first coat of epoxy over top of the graphics that I've already put on here. So what we need to do is to get this ready for another coat of epoxy is we need to roughen up the surface a little bit. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this 150 sandpaper and give a little, just roughen it up just a little bit to get it ready for surface adhesion when we put the new layer of epoxy on. Now, you don't have to do this real hard. You don't have to, should I say, take it to back down to bare metal or back down to your graphics. But you just want to do a light scuffing just to get it roughened up so that, like anything that you're painting or putting epoxy on or whatever, you want it to be able to have a good surface adhesion so that your next layer of whatever medium you're putting down will have a good bonding surface. So as I said, we'll just sand this down a little bit, get the bottom real good. And what I'll do after this is I will wash this off real good in the sink with some warm water, and then I'll also hit it with some isopropyl alcohol just to make sure that the surface is nice and clean and prepped for that next layer of epoxy. Stand by. After I finish this up, I'm gonna show you how to mix up your epoxy, and we'll show you how to lay it down on the cups. All right, cool. All right, homies and homettes, so I've already sanded down these last two cups. And just to show you, I'll just take a little bit of alcohol, as I said. Right now, all I have is 70%. If you can find the 90% isopropyl alcohol, it doesn't make a big difference, but it does give it a little bit of a better cleaning feel, I think. But like I said, I'll just, lightly wipe a paper towel across it, clean these up real good, get all the grit and grime from you sanding it off. Because if you didn't get all that grit and grime off, then what would happen is as you're laying down your epoxy, you're just not giving it a good base to adhere to. As you can see, neighbor's dog don't like me too much. Oh well. But after we do this, we will clean this up real good. Next step will be we're going to mask and tape the top, and then we'll go ahead and put these on the rollers and get them ready for epoxy. Stand by. So as I said before, after you clean and you get ready to lay your epoxy, what we want to do is we want to put some tape around the rim of your cups so that you don't get epoxy inside of here, and that's just more cleanup. So usually before I paint a cup, I will put the tape around here so you don't get paint overspray in there. But I didn't have to paint these. I just did some hand drawing on them, so I don't have any tape on here yet. What I like to use is the blue painter's tape versus regular old school masking tape. What I found is sometimes when you're working on these cups, it may take you a day or two. With me right now, a week, 2 weeks to get back to the cup. Once it's dry, like I said, it's good. You don't have to mess with it. But if you are going to put down another coat, you do need to sand and re-prep. But If you leave this regular old school masking tape on, it leaves a residue that is really hard, damn near impossible to get off. What I like to use now is this blue painter's tape. Comes off easy, leaves minimal residue, makes it easier for you to clean up and get it done. So basically, take your piece of tape, put it in here. You don't have to leave a large overhang from the cup for the tape. So I usually leave, maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. Just put it on there like that. It's inside, it's cleaning it up. I'm sorry if you looked in here and you saw the little pink pinwheel in here. I ordered these off of Amazon, and I ordered them probably 2 years ago. I can go back in my Amazon orders and see if I can find out what it is. If I can find out what the name brand is, I will put it in the links down below to give y'all a little easier search engine to find. But these work out great because you'll see the way I do it is I use PVC rollers. So what it is essentially is it has a hole. You put your PVC in there, bam. And these work great if you're doing epoxy or if you're just painting. If you've got cups that you're gonna paint, you put it in there like that and spray, and you're good to go. So I use them, works great before that. And if I have bigger, larger tumblers, I'll use foam rollers or the insulation that you see for piping, copper piping, works great also. So back to this, we're gonna take the other two, and then once we get those taped, we'll come back and show you how to start rolling down your epoxy. Cool. Fucking dog, man. Shut the fuck up. Go in the house. Do something. What up, homies and homettes? Back in the lab, and what I'm gonna go over now is the epoxy that I use to do my tumblers and my cups. So currently I'm using Alumilight's Clear Cast Plus. Now, I'm not sponsored by them. This came out of my own pocket. For the half-gallon, probably was around $80 to $100 maybe. All depends on, if you got any shipping involved or whatever else. But the reason I like this is because most of my cups and tumblers have graphics on them. Before I was using this, when I was putting graphics on a cup, I was using a matte UV clear film to put over the graphics to help with the longevity of the graphic. But the amazing people at ClearCast came up with a UV protectant inside of their resin already. So I've been using this for about 2 years now since they came out with it, maybe a year and a half. No, it's got to be at least 2 years because I've been in Italy for at least a year and a half now. So like I said, I use this. I mix this 1-for-1 as far as measuring. Some epoxies you measure by weight, some you do by volume. I do volume, and the way I do it is I use these little handy dandy medicine cups, and they come pre-marked with milliliters, ounces, tablespoons, everything. Get these off of Amazon. You get a sleeve of 200 for maybe $4. Like I said, if I can find a link, I'll send it to you. But I mix these, like I said, volume 1-to-1. And with the 3 cups I'm going to do today, I'm probably going to use maybe 30 milliliters. And that should just give us a good thin coat. Because like I said, I've already put 1 coat on these. So I'm just doing a little skim coat to shine these things up and make them look good before I send them out to my homies renting these so they can have theirs to sip on their bourbon during our next show. So stay tuned. I'm going to set up, and then I'll show you how I pour them on the cups and how I let them roll for the day. All right, homies. One thing I do want to go over with you, though, is there's a debate in the resin world of whether you should mix in 1 cup or is there a problem if you mix in 2 cups. And what they mean is if you pour part A and then you pour part B in a separate container and then you pour one into the other to mix. Yes, you are going to leave some residual in one that you're pouring out of, but for something so small as this, it's not a big deal. If you were doing, say, a river table or something that was using quarts or gallons, then yes, you would ultimately want to mix in one container to get the most out of it. But for something like I'm doing here, you don't need that much. And what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll mark on my cup how much I'm going to pour in each one, just so I can visually see how much I need. Like I said, I'm probably going to use 30 cc, so I'll mark one at 15 right here, and then I'll mark another one at 15 right here, and that's not cc's, that's milliliters. Well, it's the same thing on this line, but I'm getting old, so my eyes are bad, so this just helps me see it when I pour it. And then it's essentially just you taking it, pouring it in the cups, mixing them together, and then we'll start from there. Be right back. All right, y'all, so what I've done is I've pre-measured both my A and my B. I mixed them in one cup, like I said, small, cheap plastic cup, get off of Amazon. And then you're gonna mix this for at least 3 minutes. Make sure you're scraping the sides real good of the cup, pulling from the bottom, and don't be afraid if you see bubbles starting to form in there. The slower you stir, the least likely you're going to introduce air to the mix, but you want to get it stirred up real good. Make sure you don't see any more swirls where the part A and part B haven't mixed together thoroughly. And then once that's done, you could always let it sit for about 10 minutes, depending on what your epoxy's working time is. That's a key ingredient. And let some of the bubbles rise. But when I'm doing these thin cups or whatever, so I'll just pour it, and then I'll come back after like 10 minutes. I'll hit it with the heat gun or the torch, pop all the bubbles, do it another 10 minutes after that, and it's usually good. I'm not going to bore you with this standing here, turning and turning and turning. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep turning this, but I'm also going to relight my pipe. So be back shortly. All right, homies and homettes, we are back in the lab, and as you can see, I've got all 3 tumblers on the rollers. They're already rolling. Now, this setup, if you like this setup, is a setup that I got the motors off of Amazon, as always, and just small little motors. They turn to PVC, PVC turns the cups, and so on and so forth. So with this one, I'm going to try to give you a good angle and show you how I pour the epoxy on the cups. Very simple. I'll just start out here on this one. I just pour a little bit and then move it with my hands around, make sure it's getting thorough saturation on the cups. And I just do this all the way around. Like I said, if you see bubbles in your coat, don't worry. You let it sit for about 10-15 minutes. Come back, hit it with your heat gun or your torch, and bubbles should be able to dissipate. And come back about another 10-15 minutes, do the same thing, and you should be good. Like I said, don't be afraid to try this with some, like I said, if you're like me and you had 20 cups in your cabinets and this is something you want to start trying, don't be afraid to just get out there and experiment. I look back at the cups that I made 3-4 years ago, and they look kind of crazy. They're very uneven. Lot of bubbles in the coats, but I was trying. And as you do more, like anything, as you do more and you experiment, you get better at it. So you learn techniques to use. Things not to use. Like you say, I've used 2 or 3 different types of epoxies. It just depends on what works better for you. You learn how the temperature affects the epoxy as it's setting up. A little odd thing, Renee helped me come out with the name of my company, Cold Shed Customs, and the reason that started is because I started this in the winter in Virginia as a hobby. And I was literally in my shed. I had a little 8x10 wooden shed that was freezing. It was cold. And I had space heaters in there to keep me warm and to keep the epoxy warm, but I would learn how the epoxy, adjusted to the different weather temperatures. If it's 40, 50 degrees where you're storing your epoxy, I recommend you heat that epoxy up before you mix it. One, you're going to notice it's going to flow a lot better, and two, it's going to get rid of the bubbles. So just something to think about. I enjoy this as a hobby. I make a lot of cups for friends. I make a lot of cups for myself. I have sold quite a few in the past. Here in Italy, I'm not selling so much. I'm really not pushing it because I don't have time to do it. As I said, it's taking me a month just to do these 3 cups because I'm busy. Just ain't had time. So, but it's fun. It's a hobby, something I like to do. And like I said, with the homies, we got to have perfect glassware for our, Homie Trinity podcast, baby. Like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're always informed on when your favorite neighborhood homies put out a new video. And what I'll do is I'll use up the rest of a little bit of my resin, make sure I just coat these cups real well. And like I said, you're just moving it around with your hand. One, that's helping to get rid of, dissipate some of the bubbles. Two, is making sure you don't miss any spots. You don't have no dry spots on your cups. And just light it up like this. Smooth it around. Like I said, I'll let these turn for at least 6 hours on the rollers to get it nice and to get everything coated and make sure it's tacked up real well. After about 6 hours, then it'll be good to stop and just let it cure some more. Be right back. Okay, y'all, that's gonna do it for this video. A little something different than what me and the homies usually do, but like I said, hope this was informative. Hope this, maybe if you were thinking about getting into this, maybe it shows you the ease of what it is to do it. You're not scared to experiment and try something new. My suggestion, if this is something you want to do, find you a hobby store near you. If you're in the States, maybe a Michael's or something, buy one of their cheap tumblers. They're like $5, $6. Maybe buy you one of their small epoxy cast kits and try it. It's something that I've gotten a lot of enjoyment over the years. I've made a little bit of money on it, having fun, like I said, just playing with it. But we just wanted to show you some of the things that we like to do. I know Ren and E do their comic books. I can't read that well, so I don't do comic books, but this is something I like to do. I like to work with my hands. So always like, subscribe, hit the bell, and stay tuned to the Homie Trinity podcast for our next upcoming video. Peace out, y'all.